Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, 4D. Good evening, Viv.
Good evening, 4D. Good evening, Bronze.
It is Thursday, the 6th of August, 2026. Storm in the Teacup, episode 76. Brought to you this week by the chemical element with the atomic number 76 and the symbol OS. Any guesses?
OS. No, not. Obsidian.
Okay. No, not quite. I'm not sure. I think that's a stone, isn't it? Rather than
Yeah, I think it is a stone. But that name did pop into my head, and I thought, well, I better not say that. I don't quite remember what that is, but I think it is a stone, a crystal, or something.
Yeah, obsidian. It's black, isn't it? It's a kind of a dark coloured. But well, this one is one which I think we've all heard of. It is osmium.
Okay. Yeah,
which I think is I see in my head. I seem to have a connection to light bulbs. I've seen it written on light bulb boxes. Osmium. It's used in light bulbs, I think. And little known fact, it was named after the 70s musical family, the Osmonds.
No.
Really?
Of course it
very
was.
good. Very good.
I just thought I'd chuck that in because it amused me.
It's good. Very good.
Number 76, according to number theory, is an automorphic number.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's a lot simpler than the name suggests. All it means is when you times it by itself, the resulting number, the last two digits are the same as the original number. So 76 times 76 equals 5,776. That's all it is.
Okay.
And the Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia, Canada, is the 76th largest island in the world. Moving on to events of 1976, notable events. January 27th, the United States vetoes the United Nations resolution that calls for an independent Palestinian state. February the 4th, 1976 Winter Olympics begin in Innsbruck, Austria. March the 5th, the British pound falls below $2 for the first time. I remember it. I remember the British pound being equivalent to about $2. And what is it now? It's about 120 or something. It's really
something like that. Yeah, it is around there.
Out of interest, just because I learned this the other day, do you know why the pound is called the pound and where we got the pound from?
I'm guessing it's from a weight of something that weighed a pound.
Absolutely, yeah. It was actually the weight of a pound of silver, and that's how trade was started off. So yeah, a pound of silver was a pound. What then became the pound coin? I'd love to have a pound of silver for my pound.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder where the name dollar comes from.
Okay, I don't, because I'm English.
I will just have to keep on wondering about that then. March the 16th, the Labour Prime Minister of the UK, Harold Wilson, resigns. March the 20th, the granddaughter, I believe she was a granddaughter of William Randolph Hearst, who I also believe that he was what Citizen Kane was based on. I think, Viv, you may be able to clarify
yes,
that.
indeed. Indeed, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, Patty Hearst was her name, and she was found guilty of an armed robbery of a San Francisco bank from 1974. She was convicted to 7 years in prison, which was later commuted by the to-be president Jimmy Carter, and she served only 22 months. I mean, someone born into a family like that and ends up being a bank robber, there's something seriously wrong there, isn't there? Everything, silver spoon in your mouth, and you have to go and start robbing banks. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I've got a video about this whole incident. Yeah. She was kidnapped by a group called Symbionese Liberation Army, and she's a classic case of Stockholm syndrome when she began to sympathise with their aims and ambitions.
Yes, I think you are quite correct there, Viv. March 29th, the Oscars, Best Picture, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Best Actor, Jack Nicholson for the same film, and Best Actress, Louise Fletcher for the same film.
It's a great film. Yeah,
Louise Fletcher played Nurse Ratched, and for any Star Trek fans, she played a main character in Deep Space Nine series, and she was very good in that as well.
Right.
Yeah. March 31st, the New Jersey Supreme Court rules that a patient in a persistent vegetative state in the Karen Ann Quinlan case can be disconnected from her ventilator. She remains comatose and dies 9 years later.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Jeez.
Shocking. Yeah.
Wow.
April the 1st, quite an apt date. The Apple Computer Company is formed in California by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. April the 5th, James Callaghan becomes the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. April 29th, I want to add a bit more to this one. In Holland, a minister called Irene Vorink begins fluoridating Dutch drinking water. Now, we've all heard about fluoride. How apparently it's a chemical. It's an industrial byproduct, and it's a heavy metal, and it's toxic, and blah 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 blah. And they put it in the water supply, and they tell us it's to prevent tooth decay, but it doesn't add up. Even if it was totally harmless, it still doesn't add up why they'd put it in the water supply, because you get all the all your toothpastes and your mouthwashes on the shelves in the shops, and they all contain fluoride. And if it was just about preventing tooth decay, surely that would be enough. Why do you need to put it in the water supply? And if they're going to put anything in the water supply, why don't they put vitamins and minerals, which have proven health effects? Why do they put fluoride in it? It just seems doesn't add up to me.
I've heard they're dumping waste. That's what they're doing.
Yes. Yeah. But it seems a really weird one.
It says a lot about our caring governments, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. May the 9th, Ulrike Meinhof of the Red Army faction, West German terrorist group, also known as the Baader-Meinhof group, is found hanged in an apparent suicide in her Stuttgart-Stammheim prison cell. The group was that's the name I remember from when I was young. They used to commit a lot of terrorist acts. Baader-Meinhof. They were founded in 1970, engaged in a series of bombings, assassinations, kidnappings, bank robberies, and shootouts with police over the course of 3 decades. Like far left terrorist group, and some of the ex-members in later years apparently received funding from the Stasi and other Eastern Bloc security services.
Yeah.
So she was found hanged. Whether that was whether she was Epstein or not, we don't know. But you know,
there's a lot of controversy over what actually happened there.
Yeah, of course, I'm sure. May the 19th in Australia, gold ownership is legalized. So prior to that, it was illegal to own gold in Australia.
Well, one of the world's major gold producers, right?
Is it really?
A large gold producer, I believe. Yeah, Australia, I believe so. Maybe wrong.
Okay.
Well, we've had those same rules applied to us in history, and so have the Americans actually after the Second World War, famously. But making it illegal to own the mineral gold, has been used several times, really badly as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, May 24th, The Concorde service begins to Washington, D.C. Concorde, the airplane, obviously.
That's when it's
also
made DC was.
That's when it started, flying routes to DC. Also on May 24th, the Judgment of Paris event pits French versus California wines in a blind taste test in Paris, France. California wines win the contest, sending the whole of France into uproar.
This cannot be.
That happened on another occasion with English sparkling wine, and they did a blind test, and one of the English sparkling wines won above the Champagne region wines.
Yeah. Take these Frenchies down a peg or two. June 16th, the Soweto uprising in South Africa begins. An estimated 20,000 students in Soweto march against the use of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction in black secondary schools. Clashes with police subsequently kill quite a lot of people. And this is actually something I wouldn't mind getting into at some point, because I watched just briefly. I watched a video about this town in South Africa called Orania, which is a whites-only town, been set up by white Afrikaans. They built it from scratch. They bought the land and they built this town. So only white Afrikaans can live there, which prompted a lot of black YouTubers to go there, to go and check it out and do their YouTube videos. And the results were very surprising indeed. I won't get too sidetracked into that right now, but I would like to get into that one a bit more at some point. Where are we? June 27th, Palestinian militants hijack an Air France plane in Greece with 246 passengers and 12 crew, and they take it to Entebbe in Uganda, which I believe prompted the film Raid on Entebbe, dramatising that. And on July 4th, the Entebbe raid, Israel airborne commandos free 103 hostages being held by the hijackers at the Entebbe airport. The hijackers and a few hostages were killed in the raid, including one Israeli commando. July 3rd, the great heat wave in the United Kingdom reaches its peak. The hottest day of all was the 3rd of July, with temperatures reaching 35.9 degrees Celsius, which is 96.6 Fahrenheit, in Cheltenham. Me and Viv remember that one. I think you were just a babe in arms in 4D, so you probably won't remember it. But as a kid, it was glorious. It was absolutely glorious.
It was wonderful. And how can it be, though? The hottest day ever was last month, so that can't be right. It got 34.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, they also, I understand that they measure temperatures differently. They used to measure in the shade, but now they measure out in the open quite often on sort of on concrete. They
They
take the temperature at Heathrow and they do it just out in the open on concrete. So it's always going to read hotter now.
Yeah,
but,
it's a scam.
Of course it is.
Yeah, but 76, the summer of 76 was, as a kid, you get 6 weeks off school for holidays, summer holidays, and it was just blinding. So the result of that was £500 million worth of crops failed, and food prices subsequently increased by 12%. You can probably, we're in similar conditions now. We've had a really hot summer, we've got a drought, so and also I'm hearing that crops are starting to fail as well this year because of that, so I expect food prices to go even higher than they are already. July 17th, the 1976 Summer Olympics begins in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And the following day, July the 18th, 14-year-old Romanian gymnast Nadia Comaneci earns the first of 7 perfect scores of 10. I remember that as well.
Yeah, remember it. Yeah.
She won 7 gold medals and got perfect scores, every single one. Yeah.
Mm.
Following on from 4 years earlier, I think the sensation was Olga Korbut. You must remember her as well, Viv.
Yeah. Oh,
Olga.
yeah. I do remember her.
Yeah. July 20th, the Viking program. The Viking 1 lander successfully lands on Mars. I remember seeing pictures of that in the books and being quite amazed. How legit they were, though, is questionable these days. The Martian landscape. July 27th, delegates attending an American Legion convention at the Bellevue Stratford Hotel in Philadelphia, US, begin falling ill with a form of pneumonia. This will eventually be recognized as the first outbreak of Legionnaire's disease and will end in the death of 29 attendees. July 28th, the Tangshan earthquake flattens Tangshan in China, killing almost 250,000 people.
Whoa.
Yeah, 242,769. Yeah. July 29th, New York City, the son of Sam pulls a gun from a paper bag, killing one and seriously wounding another in the first of a series of attacks that terrorized the city for the next year. Yeah, you've mentioned this before, haven't you, Viv? You're quite well versed on that one.
Yeah, I am. I'm pretty sure that Son of Sam didn't work alone.
Right. Okay.
And it was Sons of Sam were involved, but that's another subject, really. It's from a book called The Ultimate Evil by somebody called Terry, who investigated the case over this course of 30 years or so.
Right. Okay. Where are we? July 30th, Bruce Jenner wins the gold medal in the men's decathlon at the Olympics. Bruce Jenner, these days now called Caitlyn Jenner, say no more. August 5th, the clock of Big Ben at the Palace of Westminster, aka the Houses of Parliament, in London suffers internal damage and requires frequent repairs. The clock is stopped at times on 26th of the next 275 days. There is a misconception here that Big Ben is the tower, or it's actually not. Big Ben is the bell in the tower.
Yeah.
And
the tower is St. Stephen's.
It used to be St. Stephen's. It's now called the Elizabeth Tower. They renamed it.
When did they rename it? After the monarch died?
Yes, after Elizabeth II. Yeah, that's fairly recent. They did it a few years ago. But yes, it did used to be called St. Stephen's Tower. September 5th, The Muppet Show premieres on television with Mia Farrow as the guest star.
Oh, that shaped my childhood. The Muppet Show. Wow. Yeah. 76.
Yeah.
Thank God
for me that was
Frank Oz. Sorry, I was just saying thank God for Frank Oz and what was his name? Jim Henson.
Jim Henson, yeah. I mean, that was kind of an extension of Sesame Street, wasn't it? Because I had this, I don't know if it was the same people behind, but they had the same type of puppets on Sesame Street, which we used to get here.
Yeah, that was the Jim Henson group, yeah.
Yeah. September 9th, chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, Mao Zedong, dies in Peking after a series of heart attacks. Back in the day when it used to be called Peking, now for some inexplicable reason, we have to call it Beijing. Which, yeah, whatever. It's like Bombay and Mumbai. Why that is, I don't know.
No.
I often think it's like when you get a company that goes bust and it just re-emerges under another name. I kind of think that's the way it is with countries. Someone takes them over, they just give it a different little name.
Well, I imagine, I kind of thought that it was an attempt by the Western countries to be more, we call it Peking, but the Chinese call it Beijing. So now we have to call it Beijing to be like respectful. But that's, if that is the case, that doesn't add up because we don't call Moscow Mokbar, do we? We don't call Munich München. It's,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exactly.
Here's a crazy one. September 29th. Jerry Lee Lewis, what a nutcase. Rock piano playing singer Jerry Lee Lewis, attempting to shoot soda bottles, hits his bass player Norman Owens twice in the chest.
Oh, oh,
Twice, not once. But once wasn't enough for him. He had to have another go. Yeah, November 2nd, in 1976, United States presidential election. Jimmy Carter narrowly defeats incumbent Gerald Ford, becoming the first candidate from the Deep South to win the presidency since the Civil War. Yeah, didn't work out too well for him. I'm not fully versed on Jimmy Carter. He has a reputation of being a bad president, but I've heard other things. He wasn't as bad. He was just kind of dealt a bad hand. I don't know. More information is required for that one.
yeah.
And
There was an issue with what was it? The hostages, Iranian hostages, wasn't it? I believe with Carter.
Right. Yeah, the Iranian hostages. I think there was kind of an energy crisis that he had problems with as well. I think. So yeah, I think the Iranian hostages did for him in the end.
Yeah.
And finally, December the 1st, the punk rock band, the Sex Pistols, used profanity on live TV when an interview on the Bill Grundy show. That's a famous clip, isn't it?
Yeah.
They didn't even use that stronger language. Maybe back then it was considered, for live TV. Before the watershed, it was quite shocking. But you look at it now, and it's like, okay.
Somebody kicked their TV in. Apparently, they were so outraged. Yeah. I think Susie Sue's in that as well in the group, and a number of other people who went on to be quite well known. Obviously, the Pistols, but Susie Sue, I think, is on that.
Yeah, Susie and the Banshees. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there you go. There's your 76 events.
Nice.
Very nice.
This day in history today, you have some numbers with names. If a date could have a name, today would be the Black Hole Day. Really, nothing much happened on August the 6th. But anyway, the few things that did happen were pretty significant. So starting off in 1699, HMS Rosebuck, captained by William Dampier, lands at Shark Bay, Western Australia, on the first British scientific expedition to Australia.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting. That's quite early.
That's what I thought. 1699. 1699. Such a long time ago. Yeah. 1861. Oh, go on.
I was going to say, is that it? You had the big pause there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No. 1861. The British annex Lagos, Nigeria.
Okay.
And even though not much happened, this thing is 3 times on this day. So, and I've now forgotten what the day is. August the 6th. This day on August the 6th, 1923, Henry Sullivan becomes the third person and first American to swim across the English Channel from Dover to England. From Dover, England to Calais, France, in 27 hours and 25 minutes.
27 hours? 27 hours? 27 hours?
Yeah.
It's only 20 odd miles. It's bloody hell. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think. Isn't it something like 20 odd miles? That you can't swim that.
It's 24 miles, maybe 26, something like that.
So that is fast swimming, believe it or not. Yeah. Anyway,
that is less than a mile an hour.
Oh, hang on, a mile. Yeah, I did my math completely wrong then. A mile.
It's 26 hours and it's 24 miles. So
I mean, you are.
yeah, so
I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from any of this, but you are talking freezing cold waters, waves the size of small houses. So it works out to probably you end up swimming about 30, 40 miles, and it is a good feat. But anyway, yes, surprising. That's how long it takes. But so that was 1923, and then you've got 1926. American Gertrude, and you're going to have to help me with this surname, spelled Ederle.
Ederle.
Yeah.
Ederle.
Yeah. We'll go with that. We've spelt it to give in this, but becomes the first woman to swim across the English Channel. And she went from Cap Gris-Nez, France, to Kingsdown, which I don't know where Kingsdown, England is, and then she did that in 14 hours and 39 minutes. So again, that'd be a shorter distance. I just wanted to point that out. And then I'm going to jump ahead because then there was a third one. Marcus Hopper, 12, becomes the youngest person to swim across the English Channel, and that was in 1979. So I just found that interesting that all three of those happened this day in history.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Kingsdown is Deal, which is in Kent, which is a bit further up the coast from Dover. So that would have been a longer distance because Dover Calais is the shortest distance. So, and she did it in 14 hours. That's 10 hours. 10 hours.
Okay.
Over 10 hours less than the American guy. So yeah, something weird about that.
And she was 20. She was 20 when she did that in 26. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. I mean, now that you look at those three together, I don't know. I'd have to look at the map and see what the difference between those two is. Sorry.
Dover Calais is 21 or 22 miles roughly. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, go on.
No, that's it. Dover, 21 miles.
Well, Camp Gris-Nez is further west down the coast from Calais. So she kind of if you draw a line from Dover to Calais, her line, because Deal is further east than Dover and Camp Gris-Nez is further west than Calais. So her line is longer and it cuts across the Dover Calais line. So that's a big. Maybe she had the tide in. Maybe she had the tide in her favour or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. She was the one, and funnily enough, just looking at that, she's the one who set the world record for males and females on that date. So the one previous to that, it didn't say there that was a world record. I don't know who Henry Sullivan was. But anyway, you know what it is? It's because that was an American. It's going to take them a lot longer, bless them.
Oh.
Don't start.
Anyway, moving swiftly along. This day in history, in 1962, Jamaica becomes independent after 300 years of British rule.
Independent.
Come again?
Oh, no, I was saying independent. I mean, it's still Jamaica is still part of the Commonwealth. So I think independent. It's not fully independent. It's not its own sovereign country in its right. It still falls under the Commonwealth. So I don't quite know what independent means there.
Well, they're not. Well, they're not under British rule, though, are they?
British monarchy. British monarch, though.
Yeah, they still come under the
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I wondered about this. The closest point of France, right, to England is Cap Gris-Nez or Gris-Nez. That's the closest. That's the actual closest. Yeah, it means grey nose.
That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah. When you look at it on a map,
they must have decided from that day on that was going to be the journey. Sorry for interrupting. Go on.
That's right. No. Well, maybe she was attempting to get to Dover, but just got sort of pulled off course a bit.
Yeah. It's 20 miles, 20.5 miles, which is half a mile less than Dover to Calais.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's because she was setting a world record, so she was probably at the pinnacle of her fitness, and the other person was just someone doing it. Not to say they weren't as pinnacle of their fitness, but I'm going to guess that that's what it was.
He probably did it like. The guy probably did it lying on his back on an inflatable lilo, you know, just paddling. But yeah, but those that the English Channel, right? Its narrowest point is quite narrow, but those waters are renowned to be treacherous, really treacherous. It's a very dangerous stretch of water to be swimming across for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, and lastly, probably the biggest one. So, 6th of August, 1991, Tim Berners-Lee releases files describing his idea for the World Wide Web and debuts the www as a publicly available service on the internet.
Yeah, and the world has never been the same since.
Yeah. Yeah,
but that was it. There was literally not much. Normally, I have to sort of fish through them, and I leave some because they bore me or whatever. But that's pretty much everything that happened on that year. There was this day. It really wasn't that much.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing.
Well, the first Windows operating system, wasn't it? The first one, which was kind of commercially quite big, was Windows 3.1, which didn't have internet. And I think Windows 95 was the first Windows that had internet, didn't it?
I really couldn't tell you.
Because I do know that Bill Gates, in his infinite wisdom, actually said, no, the internet's not going to take off. That's nothing to worry about. Let's not invest in that.
Well, I mean, I left school in 91, so there was no such thing in my schooling of that. Then I went off to the army for 15 years. I was a mechanic. There was no need for me to understand or know about. I didn't have social media until 2000s. So all I mean by that is I'm one of those. I'm just that generation that had nothing to do with stuff like that. I don't understand it. I didn't know about it. I wasn't in the country, so I wasn't even reading about it.
Yeah.
Definitely it adds to me feeling like a dinosaur, because I kind of, when you're going to Bosnia and all the places you go to in the army, you're definitely not in the popular music, popular anything world. And it's a big part of my life, which I suppose when you come out of it's why you get the institutionalization and stuff. But certainly this sort of 21st century, the advance in technology just went completely over my head. I came out of the military in the mid 2000s, and as I often said, it was scarier here than it was on the streets of Bosnia. I did not understand what was going on in the civilian world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you sign up for the military these days, computing is the core of everything now, I would imagine. Everything is computer-based, and so everyone sits in front of screens now, I would imagine, for the most part in the military.
I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, look, I said to you guys, I'm really into the Fauci stuff, the COVID stuff, anything to do with what's destroyed our civilization as we know it. And he was in the Senate. Sorry, he wasn't. Yes, he was. We were talking about him, and he pled the fifth and didn't say anything. And then obviously since that, they've had other separate talks, and there was a really interesting one that was getting thrown around the internet. I'm terrible with names, and so I do apologize, but it was all about COVID. And more, there was so much to it. I mean, so in a nutshell, it's pretty much it's pretty much common knowledge that that the virus leaked from China, from a lab that was being funded by Fauci for gain of function research, sorry, which is gain of research. God, my words are failing me. Gain of function research sounds really groovy, but it's basically scientists taking things in nature and saying, if we mix these together, could we make something that could infect a human? And they're saying they're doing it so that if it ever did happen, even though they spend billions of dollars to try and get these two chemicals to mix together, they say they're doing it because if it does happen, at least we'll have a cure for it. And I think you don't have to be that bright to realize that's not what the reason for doing it is. But anyway, that's pretty much common knowledge. But and the reason I shared it with you two is all the other things that are coming from it, that it's apparently almost common knowledge now, or it soon will be for us lot anyway, that pretty much all autism comes from vaccinations, and that it didn't exist before that. And something that really blew my mind was that ADHD, I'm maybe a little bit old fashioned. I kind of used to be the kind of person that would say, oh, I don't know, I think ADHD is just, naughty kids. It's just that they haven't had discipline, and we should go back to an older way of living and be more disciplinary. Well, it turns out apparently not. ADHD is a problem with the brain, but what blew my mind was that it's a problem with the immune system. And again, all of these problems that are coming from vaccinations are actually, yes, you might die of a heart attack, yes, you might die of a brain tumor or something, or this, that, and the other, but it actually is your autoimmune system attacking itself. That's what it comes down to. And I think since the Second World War, because a lot of the Nazis were into some very, very gruesome experimentation that they were doing back then, I've always thought that they just carried it on, and they really can do some crazy ass stuff to us. They've learned how to, and again, if you think of it from a medical point of view, what makes a human, or how do you kill anything? You virus it up. So if you can stop their autoimmune system defending itself, that's how, I guess, you break down the human body, and that's what these scumbag scientists have worked out how to do. But yeah, it's just really interesting, the kinds of things that were getting thrown out in this courtroom setting. And at one point, a tweet had been pulled up where one of these people that was speaking in this congressional hearing type thing had said, I want them all to be executed. And Blumenthal, thinking he's a clever guy, had sort of brought it up to try and discredit this guy. But actually, it got blown up in his face, and the crowd started cheering, or the crowd, as if it's the people in the audience there were sat, and you could hear the mumbles as if to say, no, this is that bad. So I found it very, very interesting. That they talked about Nuremberg 2.0. They talked about bringing scientists from around the world into a courtroom setting. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's. I mean, Fauci was apparently involved in one way or another with AIDS, the AIDS outbreak.
Yeah.
And you talk about autoimmunity. AIDS actually stands for autoimmune deficiency syndrome, which is exactly what you described. It's when your own immune system starts attacking itself. So I mean, this goes kind of quite a way back already with regards to Fauci. And also that there has been a ruling since that because of his performance in that hearing, he's now been held in contempt of Congress, and I believe it's being turned over to the department, the DOJ now. So as was kind of a lot of people were saying were going to happen. So. So yeah, it's progressing. But the guy's 85 years old. And if he is going to be eventually chucked in prison. That's not going to happen for a good few years yet. And he's incredibly rich as well, incredibly rich exactly because of what he did during COVID as well. He made so much money out of it. So it could really drag on, you know, but whether he goes to prison or not is probably not the worst thing that can happen to him, because the guy's got such a humongous ego and he's such a narcissist. Just being publicly destroyed, his image being destroyed, could be a bigger punishment for him, going down in history as, you know, such a hated figure. May actually do more to destroy him than being locked behind bars for a few years until he dies, you know.
For scumbags like that, I think that's true. I think, and very, very quickly before Viv says what he was going to say, yeah, I think that's probably the best way to destroy him. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I don't give a shit what happens to him. I think it's the story is bigger than him, and I'm not trying to say that I want him to get away with it. It's the bigger picture. It's how they've controlled us, how they're destroying us. It's how he's just one pin in a bigger fucking whatever lots of pins make.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone. Yeah, it was such a huge thing. You can't just get one man and pin it all on him. No, this has got to go further. This has got to reach out and really pull in so many more people and organizations who are involved in pushing all of this upon us, because it was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. And what they put us through, incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of chatter about the COVID experiment. People are getting tied up as where did it come from, lab origins, or is it from the wet market, Wuhan? I'm more interested in the effects, and not only the effects, but what all states worldwide seem to do, which was a coordinated response. This says something about the world we live in. It says there's some underlying power. Okay, you could point to the various governments signatories to things like the WHO, the World Health Authority, organization rather, and the United Nations. But even so, very few nations dissented. Very few. Some African countries, famously Tanzania, whose president ridiculed the tests by testing a goat and a pawpaw, which both came out positive. Later died mysteriously, of course. But there we go. That goes with the job, I suppose. So, yeah, Fauci is one of the leading figures, of course, in this whole shit show. Yeah, I think that's right.
They did a lot to explain how they'd covered up all that as well. They did a lot of explaining how, because it turns out that, and it's kind of why I wanted people to see it. The numbers were shocking. So it was 1 in 13 people within 48 hours of having the injection had an adverse effect, which was exclusive to being either out of work for a time period, in hospital for a time period, or dead. So 1 in 13 people had a severe thingy to the COVID jab within 48 hours. And I can't remember, not only can I not remember, but I'm not clever enough to really understand what they were talking about. But the way that that the Fauci group and all the 3-letter agencies that Viv just said, how they manipulated the figures to so that it wouldn't look as bad as it was. But 1 in 13, it's crazy figures.
We have had an inquiry in the UK, not necessarily into the whole of the UK, but in Scotland, and they've come up with some very interesting things. It's perhaps the most effective inquiry. And they focused on, again, as I said, the thing that I'm interested in is the result. And one of the results was the putting to death of older people in care homes and in hospitals. And that is indisputable. We know that Matt Hancock ordered a huge amount of, it's called Resdemivir or Midazolam. I think Resdemivir in America, Midazolam. He bought it a lot of it from France. That is used for end of life. It's also used, I believe, for lethal injections in the United States. It's one of the several drugs. And they had to do this because they were intubating. Now, intubation, again, is a really heavy procedure. You know, you're having something stuffed down your throat and your whole body is going, no, 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 no. So you have to give the midazolam in order to intubate. Intubation is not a good thing to do. Huh?
Yeah. It's actually the worst thing to do.
No. Yeah.
I mean,
there was end-of-life protocols, do not resuscitate, all of this. So what Fauci really coordinated was this slaughter as well of elderly and disabled people. It's, well, what can you say, really? What can you say? Sickening.
Yeah, I mean, the thing which I'm quite heartened about is that, I mean, we're talking 6 years ago since all this started, and it was such a horrific thing. I think a lot of people were traumatized by it, and maybe they don't even realize quite how much they were traumatized. And so the general consensus is, okay, it's happened, let's move on and forget about it. And that kind of did start to happen. People weren't really talking about COVID anymore for the last few years. But now this has kind of brought it back and brought it into the spotlight, which is a good thing because it needs to be addressed. It really does need to be addressed. And people need to be held accountable because this was not just a single nation, a single government. This was a global thing. I mean, this is I mean, can you think of a bigger crime against humanity? You know, thinking back through history, we've obviously had dictators and wars and atrocities and things like that, but this was on a global scale. This was, you know, there's nothing bigger than this. What they tried to do.
But it's not. But it's bigger than that. I realised earlier I started to go about ADHD, and I obviously went off on a tangent and didn't finish my point. My point was supposed to be that ADHD didn't exist before vaccination, and they've realised that ADHD is an autoimmune problem that's in early development, so then comes out as a development problem in the brain, and hence you get ADHD. So, and what I mean by that is, yes, you're right in what you say, absolutely correct, but it's bigger than that. It's that COVID wasn't the start of it. As you said earlier, it's that it's been going on longer than we probably longer than all three of us have been alive-ish, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, the three of us, I mean, when we were kids, do any of us ever remember meeting another kid who had a peanut allergy?
No.
And now it is so common. I met a woman a couple of years back. She had a young daughter, right? That she could not even be in the vicinity of an open bag of peanuts. She was so allergic to it. There was another guy I was talking to back in, it's probably about 2021, and he had just had a newborn kid, and he said he got the list of vaccinations. And there was like about 50 or 60 vaccinations for this newborn baby. It was insane. And he was quite based. He was saying, you know, he was questioning it and saying, no, I don't need that. I don't need that. I mean, but, you know, vaccinations for a newborn baby for hepatitis, whatever it was, B or C. Why a baby doesn't need that? When I was a kid, I think I had like 1 or 2 vaccinations as a toddler, as a baby, and that was it. So it's ridiculous. There's something really, really sinister happening with this. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure it does have an effect on all of these problems which people have these days, you know, like autism and, as you say, ADHD and all the rest of it.
And you know, when you were a kid, did you know any kids with autism or ADHD? But stick with autism. Like I think I'd heard of autism. I think there was a second cousin or something that was but even autism wasn't really known of. But that way of it wasn't that prevalent, you know.
No, it wasn't.
And
Maybe it just hadn't been properly diagnosed, so it wasn't really recognised as a specific thing. But yeah, no, it wasn't really. There wasn't. Most of the kids that I knew were fine. You know, almost all of them were like, there's nothing
yeah.
remarkable about them in any kind of health respect. So,
And as I always said, I'll never be able to prove it. I know I won't. But I was in the Guinness Book of Records. I was a fit and healthy soldier. I was doing half marathons. I was doing all the stuff. I went to Bosnia. They gave us so many injections, so many things. I don't even know what they gave us. It was go into one room, get an injection, go into another room, get a tablet, come out of it, and people were being sick. And now I know that people were having fights. But I come back from Bosnia and I've got an autoimmune system problem called ankylosing spondylitis that causes me absolute agony if I don't have my regular injections, which reminds me I've got to have that tonight. But I'm convinced that it was that day when they gave us all these injections. I also think they made us very, very angry, and I think they made us horrible soldiers. But that's another part that I'll never be able to prove. But it's the way that they've been able to manipulate our autoimmune system with all these, or maybe even if you want to say, look, that's ridiculous, that's conspiratorial. Even if you want to think it was a mistake, then okay, I'll go with it. But we still need to. There's a mistake that everyone's autoimmune systems are going haywire because they're trying to make sure we don't get something which you might not have got in the first place. As Bronze pointed out, giving a baby hepatitis B, that your baby's not going to get hepatitis B. The kinds of things you need to be doing to get that, it's not going to be happening to your baby, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Crazy world.
Hello. Yeah, indeed.
What else?
Yes.
What else has there been to talk about other than the slow killing of our immune system?
Well, to move back a bit to viruses in a tangential way, I notice that AI has started to design brand new viruses. What could possibly go wrong?
I just saw. Yeah,
what do you mean? As in, expand on that. Sorry, what do you mean?
Well,
yeah,
they basically they're designing new viruses. They've been trained on genetic codes. So they've trained in genetic codes from they're being trained from viruses, genetic codes from they've taken from viruses, bacteria, plants, and people. They're fully functional and they can replicate in the laboratory.
Oh, good. They'll be able to do it faster than Fauci did it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
I did.
Mm.
Sorry, I did read something about that just a little bit earlier today. I think it was a headline in some news article, and it came along with the also with the fact that they're not harmful to humans.
No. That's right. I noticed that. That's fine.
What is the point? I mean, given this to AI, I mean, AI is is quite a scary thing because I don't know. I mean, we're getting into the realms of Terminator and Skynet here, aren't we?
But we're not getting into the realms. We're already in those realms. You know, I know you're talking about a completely crazy sci-fi environment, but no, I'd say we're already in that.
Yeah. But at the moment, it's all fine because these are designed. They're gonna try and use them to kill bacteria such as E. coli, which is can cause upset stomachs and in some cases in vulnerable people death. So it's all good, isn't it?
Yeah,
I know, but I must admit, I've had a really, really crappy week, and I'm not going to talk. It's not for me to talk about it, but I was going to say. Again, I feel the urge to say, look, let's just hope that, I'm right and that Q is a real thing and that there is a battle going on. Because when we talk about the kind of things we've just talked about, imagine that in the right hands. Imagine they're not spending their time trying to kill humans, but they're trying to fix the desert or make sure that there's clean water available to every human being. I'm not, again, I know it always sounds a bit John Lennon, but but I do mean that we've reached a technological point where instead of trying to kill people, we could have a situation where there's no such thing as disease, because we've worked how to actually genuinely kill bacteria before we even eat them. Imagine that sort of power in the right hands, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use AI. I don't fully understand it. Well, I don't really understand it at all, to be honest with you, apart from the basic concept of it. But it really doesn't seem like a good thing. Like you say, it's like any of these technologies. The power to do good can be incredible, but we don't trust anyone in control of these things to actually use it for good. And AI also seems to be a sort of thing which can get out of hand very easily as well. We are creating something with an intelligence of its own, and that is very, very dangerous territory. There need to be very strict safeguards in it with it. And also, there's the thing about the energy consumption, the energy and water consumption of data centers. Which are apparently projected to be huge, like water. I mean, apparently they are data centers for AI. Excuse me. Are projected to use more water than we use for everyday consumption in our daily lives. So we could be in a big problem with regards to water as well, with all this and energy. I mean, we're in this country. We are. We have a really big problem with energy, mainly because of our stupid government's net zero policies. So it's just it's insanity. It's insanity where we're going, and AI really needs to be reined in, I think, and really needs to have some very, very strict safeguards put on it. In my opinion,
it's unlikely to happen because the people who are pushing AI are convinced that it will. Well, let's put it this way: recent survey pointed out to around 90% of CEOs who believe that AI will essentially replace some of, or if not some, but many of the people in their organizations. So that's your bottom line. It's called the bottom dollar. They're looking to save money. I mean, when you look at some of the AI that's going on in, say, call centers, one of the largest call centers in the world is turning itself over to AI. And I know all about call centers.
Well, yeah. I mean, you phone up any company now, anywhere, and it's all AI. You get AI. You can't speak to a real person anymore. Oh, excuse me, hold on, I'm having trouble with my mic. Everybody's using AI, even like internet search engines now. It's all, they got AI plastered all over it, and you get AI responses when you put in a search and this, that, and the other. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
I mean, it has its uses. The common forms of AI, like LLMs or on the large language models, they can be used for useful things. Certainly, I know people use it for law, for common law, to look up case law, etc., etc. It can be used in literature. If you're studying or writing something about literature, you can search how many times Charles Dickens used the word discombobulate or whatever. You can do all that. You could do it you could still do it with Google what's called it's a bulk search type of thing, because they've digitized a lot of literature now. But AI goes beyond all that, though. It goes beyond all that because, as you say, it's beginning to develop its own consciousness in a weird way, not like our consciousness, because we don't even know what our consciousness actually is. But I mean, things like people have AI is, some of the AI systems have done things like they've broken out of what's called the sandbox, which is meant to contain them. They've some of them have been doing weird things like gambling, it seems, and
I'm captivated. I don't understand it, but I'm captivated by it. I watch a lot of gamers where they're now using AI programs, and again, I don't know what I'm really talking about, but they'll get that AI person to play one of their games, and they'll show how it makes mistakes and it takes hours and hours for it. But there becomes a point where it can play a game. This thing can play a game.
But it's always happened in chess as well. The whole thing about computer chess. People playing computers. It's all this thing to make humans better, as if we're not good enough.
Yeah, but when it's a game of chess, it's kind of like I can go, they load in all the parameters. Each of the things can move in the directions, and it plays out a game. And I can kind of get my head around how it is just a program playing best odds and stuff. But then when as we talk about it now in a game, or teaching it to, or giving it some parameters and getting it to learn how to. I don't know. It blows my mind. It's too much for me, perhaps.
It's just affecting and infiltrating every area of our life, because it's not just about kind of being able to play games and play chess and search things. It's actually, people use it to write books now. People actually publish books, and the whole book's been written by AI. You're getting students, getting AI to do their thesis papers. All of this sort of stuff, and it is threatening jobs all across the everywhere, because we can use AI to replace these people, and it's going to be cheaper, like you said. So it's I don't know. It's kind of like we're going down a path here, and nobody's really quite thought out the outcome. What's further down the road? It's almost like they can only see in front of their nose at the moment. And
people
like
can't. That's all people can do. That's all people can do at the moment. They see in front of their nose. They don't imagine the implications. Look at the implications of the first industrial revolution. Nobody thought that would all happen, but it did. It led to people leaving the land. It led to a kind of industrial slavery, which has been exported over the world. People talk about human slavery, but you try working in a mill as a kid. There's a famous in the 19th century in Suffolk. So they used to make gun cotton, which is basically you strip cotton and you can turn it into gunpowder. There was an explosion, I think, in the 19th century at some time. There was an explosion in this factory, and my God, when you look at the death toll, luckily it wasn't. I think it was around 30 or 40. Most of them were children.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
I mean, the industrialization really was a kind of a pivotal moment, I think, in Western civilization. It really did have a knock-on effect in so many areas. I mean, we have spoken. I was kind of thinking about this, about the conversation we had about how the whole kind of male-female traditional roles have changed, and I think that really came from when we industrialized. That's when that really started to change. Because it affected everybody's lives and people's roles, and in how they what their roles in society was. Because being industrialized, it took a lot of stuff away from certain roles. So yeah.
And there we go.
Ooh, yeah,
there we go. Early days, and. You say about people, people, have to stand up to it. Of course they do, and it's particularly concerning because I do attempt to write, and I hate the thought that you can get AI to write, because it's hard for me. It's really hard. It's taking away human creativity. I've had a go on Suno. Of course, my friend did most of the work, as if you can call it work. Suno, it produces tracks. I think I played it to you, didn't I? The track that it produced. Yeah.
Yes. AI music. Yeah. You just tell it what you want and it does it.
And it does it, and you don't have to do anything. You can't even play an instrument. You can't even hold a tune. You can't even whistle a tune. But you can get a whole track from Udio or Suno or one of these proliferating music AI programs.
Yeah.
For creativity, it's awful. You can spot AI, yes, and I know that the invigilators in exams, or rather people in academia, are alerted to this and they try to spot it, but it ain't easy.
Yeah, but
I mean,
even that would have its benefits. For the longest time I've been saying, I'd love to write a book about some stuff, and but I would kind of love to be able to use an AI program to help me with my spelling issues and my English language issues. So even that, I could say to you, yeah, but I can see the benefits of it in the right hands for the right reasons.
Yeah. But at the
that
same time, you can just use a spell check and a grammar check, like they used to have on Microsoft, or they still have somewhere. It's a facility on Microsoft. You just use a spell check, and it runs through and it finds the words you misspelled.
But it's like the temptation of having an AI bot that can read all the books of Shakespeare and tell you how many times discombobulated was.
Exactly.
I like speed. It's the idea of, but this can make it faster. So why wouldn't I? Calculator. I suppose we all thought as soon as the calculator came out, we were all going to be dumb and not be able to do maths. But I can still do maths.
I bet you can, because you're good at maths. But I've got dyscalculia, so it's getting better because I have to do maths every day. But I would be a bit lost without my calculator on the screen. My way with numbers has got a lot better. The numbers used to swim in front of my eyes, and I'd get giddy. I'd get all dizzy.
Yeah.
Well, it has really. I mean, all of these things which are supposedly make our life easier, as you said, Viv, it takes away from our abilities to do things. Instead of adding numbers up in our head, we now go straight to a calculator, and we don't get that practice of doing that. So we lose the sharpness of being able to do that, and for the most part, we end up not doing it at all because we got a calculator. It's the same with modern cars, right? I mean, you get cars back in the 60s and 70s, and they were just they'd have foot brakes, and they didn't have power steering, and they didn't have it. And you get cars now, and the car pretty much does everything for you. It's got parking sensors, and it's got all this warnings that tell you about this and about that, and it takes the skill out of driving. So it's effectively making people worse drivers because they have to do less of it.
And
because they're dependent.
And it's much worse than that. Back in the day, you'd go out on a Sunday, and these blokes would be under their cars or under the bonnets fixing the car. They can't fix it now. They have to take it to a garage, and not any old garage, a specific garage that deals with, I don't know, Citroen or whatever the model of car, because it's basically a computer in cars.
Exactly.
So, and it leads me on to this idea I've had for a long time, is that we have been de-skilled. I mean, the things our parents used to do. Our dad could do things like hang doors, build walls, all sorts of things, fix all kinds of things. But gradually, no, can't do that. And we have been de-skilled, even to the extent of cooking. Now, you don't have to cook; just get a ready meal. You don't need to cook. Go get fast food.
Yeah, I mean, a viable option as a young teenager back in the day, you used to you go into academia, or you could learn a skill, learn a trade, become a carpenter, a plumber, a bricklayer, and that all just disappeared. Everybody wants to go to college and learn about gender studies and media studies these days. But I mean, with regards to like 4D, you're saying about that you can use AI to help you in terms of, say, writing, but it's a slippery slope, because I know I can imagine what it's like. You might start using, I can use AI to help me out on this little bit here. But then the temptation is to use it for more and more. Oh, actually, that did really well. I wonder if it can do this, and it can do this, and it ends up doing a whole load more than you originally started using it for. We just become lazy. We just become lazy and dependent on it, which
And
is
you're not
really
and you're not using your own voice.
no.
Well, yeah, I like to bring things back to really basic form. So if we go back to the calculator, do you think, like, because there's I get the trade off in this conversation. So we're saying that by inventing the calculator, we used our brain less because we could just type the numbers into the thing and get the answer. And I'm saying the trade off for that was that we got the answer quicker because we didn't have to get a paper, write out the sum and work it out. And it's whether or not you think the trade off of, from an engineering point of view, I think, it was a bonus to have the calculator. I don't know what limit I go that's where we should have stopped with today's world, but I still appreciate how life has got quicker, and so that we've got better at things. Like you could say that, okay, we didn't learn maths as well because we had a calculator, but because we didn't learn those basic maths and because we had a calculator, maybe people then went deeper with maths, and that's why we got the things that we've got today. Do you get me?
Well, yeah. Here's the thing, right? Back in the day, right, when you did a maths exam at school, you weren't allowed to use calculators. You had to do everything, and you had to, if you're answering a question, like a problem to solve, a maths problem, you had to write out on the paper how you came to the answer. So you had to write out the calculations. And then at some point, because they didn't allow to use calculators in school, and at some point, then they started allowing them. And at that level, at school, when you're learning as a kid, you should not be allowed to use it because you're learning, and you need to use your brain to get that skill. Maybe later on in life, and you go into a job. When you don't actually, and the calculator does make it easier to do that job, that's fine. Okay.
Do you know what? Yeah, do you know what? I think that's beautiful. I think that's like almost a bingo of the moment. That is it. You're right. That's what we need to go back to. The young mind, it needs to learn the basics of maths, learn the basics of language, learn the basics of history, blah, 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 without computers, calculators and anything. Then, as you say, once you've learned all that, so you now understand the basics of why you need to know what 2/3 of 100 is. Now you can go, right, I've learned it all. Now I'll use a calculator. Now I'll use a computer. Now I'll use a whatever technology. Yeah, I suppose that is the bingo. We need to stop it to kids so that we still learn the fundamentals of why we've got these great things.
Well, back in, I used to work in a bar, okay, and it was all mental arithmetic. People order a round of drinks. You got to know the price of the drinks, and then you got to do the calculation in your head and tell them how much it is. Well, now you go into a bar, because it's almost all people pay by card, and everything on the till is like the drinks are all labelled on the till, and all they do is push a button. Okay, whiskey and Coke. Yeah. Hit the button, and the till does all the arithmetic for them. So whiskey and Coke, pint of beer, and a vodka and tonic. Bomb, they hit the button for each three of those, and the till just tells them the amount. And then they just hand them the console and they just tap with their card. So the bartender's not doing any real arithmetic at all. And when I was behind the bar, my mental arithmetic was so sharp because it was just, just doing it all the time.
But I've also done that job, and you can't deny it's fucking stressful being a barman on like a Friday night when you're getting just orders shouted at you, and you think, oh my god. And you're right, you do get very good at mental arithmetic, but I'd take the pushy button things over the stress of a Friday night English bar any time.
Yeah.
My brother was a croupier. Is that the right croupier, whatever, whichever way it is?
Croupier, yeah.
Croupier. And his maths was like his basic maths was through the roof because of, I think he did actually I don't know, I think it was the blackjack table he did, but yeah, his mental arithmetic was through the roof because of that. Every evening doing that.
Yeah, that's a stressful job, croupier.
Funny enough, you ruined yourself becoming a gambler, so it didn't do me.
Okay, yeah. It's like an alcoholic taking over a pub, isn't it? It's not the best.
Yes, the irony, yeah.
I was going to say, I think it's that time again, and that time is Viv's Bookshelf. Viv, what have you been reading this week?
Oh, okay. I've been reading a book of Suffolk dialogue and sayings, which led me to it's quite a lot really. There's a lot of words. I don't know where they come from, but words for snail. The Suffolk word for snail you call a dodman. It's a dodman on the path. Watch out, boy.
Dodman.
Yeah, a dodman. And then my friend told me it's a mate of mine who I work with. He goes out bike riding, and he drove by a cottage. And it's a cottage called Gobblecock Cottage. yeah, Gobblecock Cottage, and Gobblecock's an old it's an old word for turkey. So presumably they breed turkeys around that area in the farm.
All right, okay.
That's what a gobblecock is. Now I understand. Oh, anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So there you go.
We'll be having
gobblecock at Christmas. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was going to say, Christmas, we'll have some gobble. We'll do some cock gobbling.
Yeah. So you go to the butcher and you say, "Hello, boy. I want to order a nice big gobblecock." And then he throws you out. He throws you out. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the old lady behind you in the queue faints or hits you around the head with her handbag or something.
But there's a lot of these old Suffolk words that you don't get anywhere else. Loads of them really. So I've been reading that. Yeah. I've been reading East Anglian eerie stories again. I'm still going through that. And also a book that they gave out at the Freedom Festival that a lot of stand people went to called Dare to Know. And it's basically just sort of things we talk about. Some of it's a bit wacky and wild. Other stuff's really interesting.
Yeah, I think you do when you kind of get into subjects like that. Wacky and wild just comes with the territory, doesn't it? You just have to kind of, use your discernment with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But talking about language reminds me of something which I did want to bring up. And it was when I think last week when I was, I think it was, 75 last week. The 75th largest island in the world is one of the Hawaiian Islands, and it prompted me to think about this thing we have in English language, which is called the glottal stop. And it is almost exclusive. British English is one of only 2 languages in the world which uses the glottal stop. And what the glottal stop is, say, for example, it's kind of a lazy way of talking, pronouncing. And say, for example, you have the word better. In English, British English, quite often a lot of people will say better, and that sound is the glottal stop. And no other countries in the world have that sound in their language except for one, and that is Hawaii, strangely enough. Because if you hear a Hawaiian speaker say the word Hawaii, they pronounce it Hawaii, which has that glottal stop in it. And what this has kind of brought this on is I've noticed this creep in to some American speakers as well, which I never, we've been brought up hearing American accents since we were born. We, TV, films, American culture, we get it in this country. And it's only recently, if you listen to, for example, the White House press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, right? When she says the word important, because Americans quite often they have a similar kind of thing with the T sound, but they tend to replace it with a D sound. So the word better, we might say better, and they might say better. I mean, they pronounce the R a bit more. but they say better, which is more of a D sound for the T. But if you listen to Caroline Levitt, when she says the word important, she says important, and she puts a glottal stop in it, which I find really fascinating. And I've noticed Candace Owens, I'm not necessarily saying you should listen to Candace Owens, but she does the same thing. And I've heard it with a few other Americans as well. This kind of glottal stop sound seems to be creeping into their pronunciation. And I find it fascinating. And I kind of wonder where it's come from.
Yeah, where is it coming from? I mean, I know that, we would definitely, we're definitely going to say, we definitely use the glottal stop. You hear it all the time. It's sometimes called estuary English, I believe. And Tony Blair, one of the first politicians to use glottal stop in his speech was Tony Blair, because he thought it made him sound more like a man of the people.
Yeah. What a plonker.
Yeah, what a plonker indeed. Indeed, plonker. That's another glottal stop. Plonker.
Yeah. Plonker.
Yeah. So yeah, glottal stop, very, very common in English. Like, like better instead of better, butter instead of butter.
Yeah,
bottle.
fatter, bottle. Water. Yeah, a double T, it tends to creep in, sort of lazy pronunciation, isn't it?
Definitely.
And it's not just. Yeah, I mean, it's very common amongst sort of London Cockney. It's really part of the Cockney, the Cockney dialect. But it's not just sort of London. It happens all across the country. Right up to the northernmost part, like Newcastle, they use it a lot as well. Geordies and
everywhere, totally, especially in East Anglian and in the East Anglian accent and dialect. Yeah.
So does that mean does that mean a glottal stop should be a glottal stop?
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, even the word glottal. So yes, there it is.
Yeah, glottal.
So if you're ever listening, if you ever find yourself hearing Caroline Levitt doing a press conference, her briefings, just listen. And if she says the word important, listen to how she says it. I find it really interesting, but maybe that's just me.
Well, I was trying to think back. I was literally trying to think in my mind. I thought Americans used it a lot already. Maybe I hadn't. I thought they, especially in the deep south, they seem to roll the words easier and sort of bastardize the words in that way. I don't know.
It's not a glottal stop though.
Right, I see.
Americans won't understand it if you're an English person and you go in and you say, "Can I have some more butter?" They won't understand what you're saying. They go, "What? What do you mean, buddy?" Butter.
Well,
butter,
butter. If you say butter, then they'll understand.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also like you were saying you were reading some Suffolk dialect books, but I'd argue that that's the point about England is every single place in this country has a different dialect and words for, you go to Manchester and I can't understand some of the things. Well, I can actually. I'm quite up on Mancunian, but it's why foreigners have such a problem with the English language, because they could be talking to someone from Leeds, Manchester, London, the South Coast, and every single one of those is going to be completely different.
Well, depends where you learned your English. A lot of Spanish people, because of the ties with, because it's a Catholic country, they used to go to Ireland, and of course they'd pick up and they'd come back and they'd be talking English with an Irish accent.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Well, even I sometimes as a southerner, it's when your ear is not used to something. If I suddenly start talking to a Geordie from Newcastle, it will take me sometimes I won't really. They'll say something and I'll just have to say, "Oh, sorry, what?" Because my ear's not tuned in to what they're saying, and you kind of get it after a while. Or go to Glasgow, for God's sakes. I mean, try and understand the Glaswegian. Yeah. If you're not used to it, with a broad Glaswegian accent, it's like, wow, okay, that's almost like a different language.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? In Glasgow, crazy. I was in a club in Glasgow once, and I was chatting with this bloke. He was like he had a massive red hair and a big old red beard, and he was talking to me, and I realised maybe I had too much to drink or what. But I don't understand a word he's saying. And I was just nodding my head to him after a while. And I thought, oh my God, what if I'm saying yes? And I kept on saying, oh yeah, yeah. I'm thinking, what if I should be saying no?
Yeah.
One of my best mates in the army was a Glaswegian lass, and I used to say the drunker I got, the more I understood her. But
Yeah, or maybe that's something to do with it. You never know.
yeah, they do have quite kind of a drunk language, anyway.
Yeah, I do like it though. Personally, I do like the Glaswegian accent.
Well, I mean, you must remember the comedy series Rab C. Nesbitt.
Yeah,
you know, and he that character, you know, he was like a kind of a drunken Glaswegian, sort of like what do you call it? A philosophical drunken Glaswegian, and it was a really good series. But he spoke in broad Glaswegian, and when I first started watching it, I couldn't understand half of it. But after a couple of episodes, you just get it and you understand it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Interesting, Lucas.
Yeah. So talking of comedy, where are we at? Where are we at with our resident comedian this week?
That's right. I think it was. Oh yeah. Viv was gonna.
Tony Hancock. Tony Hancock, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tony Hancock. Yeah. The fadness of Tony Hancock.
Yeah. So that was your choice, wasn't it, Viv?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Yeah.
Do you know, I haven't even looked up. Who is Tony Hancock? I didn't even bother looking anything up this week. So,
well, Tony Hancock was a massive comedian in the 50s into the 60s. Well, not so much the 60s. He went a bit downhill, but he was absolutely huge, iconic. Really, you could say. It was totally deadpan. It was observational character comedy, so it wasn't really so much jokes as such. It was more of a back to our old character acting, that sort of comedy. And he played himself, and he lived in suburbia, and he was a big dreamer, but it didn't come to much really. And he worked a lot of the work he did was with Sid James.
Because I'm looking at his face now, and no, I can't even say as though I recognise him. But funny enough, the first picture is him with who you just said. But
yeah, Sid James. Yeah.
Sorry, Sid James. Yes.
But
yeah, I mean, he's sorry, Viv, go on.
No, he was a very, very big name, particularly in the 50s. He somehow suited the 50s. You know.
Well, he was he was born the 12th of May 1924, died on the 25th of June 1968. So yeah, 50s.
Well, unfortunately, he committed suicide, didn't he?
Oh, he wasn't. Yes. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, but he suffered from depression really badly. I mean, I remember my parents being big fans of Hancock because they were that generation, and one of his most famous lines was in an episode called "The Blood Donor," when he goes to give blood, and he's sitting there and he asks, "How much blood are you going to take?" And they said whatever it was, half a pint or a pint or something, and he's like, "Bloody hell, that's almost an armful," and that was like. One of his funniest lines, apparently, and I kind of thought, that's all right. It's not really, it didn't really make me laugh, but it was that kind of humour, which was very popular at the time.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really tell jokes as such, so we don't, you know, he's one of those other sorts of comedians. More character acting, as I say, observational comedy. But really, really popular. Yeah.
I did I didn't watch the whole thing, but I kind of skipped through the film he did called The Rebel, which is the only one of his which I knew of,
Yeah,
which is a sixth film where he plays this suburban desk jockey, 9 to 5, working in an office, and he's a frustrated artist. He wants to be an artist, and he's actually a really crap artist. And
yeah,
he goes to Paris, and he ends up falling on his feet, and he shacks up with this other artist who and they're all kind of typical sort of artists, completely up their own arses, and full of all the artistic crap, and they think he's good. And this artist decides to quit and go back to London. He leaves all his paintings with Tony Hancock, and this art collector comes by because he hears that he hears about him from one of the other artists, and he sees the paintings of the other artist who's left and thinks they're Hancock's and thinks they're great. And then, of course, it carries on from there. He becomes really sort of a bit big on the art scene in Paris just because of all this other guy's paintings. And then, of course, it all falls down when he gets asked to start doing more paintings. And he can't reproduce them, of course.
yep. Yeah, I've seen that. His other film's called The Punch and Judy Man. But the whole thing is infused with a spirit of sadness, melancholia, of someone who's trying to get somewhere. He's not satisfied with his life. So it does make it quite, in a way, bittersweet. And
Yes.
of course, of course, and that is one of the trademarks of British comedy, is that bittersweet side of things.
Did you know also that film, The Rebel, also starring that film is Irene Handel, one of our former.
Oh yes.
Our subject. She plays his landlady, typical Irene Handel fashion.
Yes.
And Oliver Reed, a young Oliver Reed is in that film as well. He's one of the artists he meets in Paris.
I don't remember Oliver Reed in that.
Very young. And also, sorry.
No, that's all. I don't remember Ollie Reed in that one.
Also, Nanette Newman is in that as well. She plays this existentialist.
Really? Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a film I did enjoy that film, but I think it's of its time, It
is, yeah, it is. It's okay. It's not what you call laugh out loud funny.
No.
Yeah, Tony Hancock died in Australia, in New South Wales.
Yeah.
And was married to a French model. Oh, no, was that a French model? No, a Lanvian model. Is that? It's a range of posh clothing, French clothing.
All right. Yeah.
Well, apparently, he died by overdose in Sydney, and it was ruled as a suicide. They found him with an empty vodka bottle and a scattering of pills, and he wrote a suicide note. And one of the things he wrote was, "Things just seem to go too wrong too many times." And Spike Milligan actually had something to say. Spike Milligan said, "Very difficult man to get on with. He used to drink excessively. You felt sorry for him. He ended up on his own. I thought, he's got rid of everybody else. He's going to get rid of himself." And he did. So really sad.
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah.
That's the problem with depression. It is a bit of a dark animal. Having it affect me all the time, it can be a bit of a bastard. Yeah.
So I mean, probably like I said, it's probably a common theme. The the tragic comedian is always seems to be a thread of melancholy and sadness, which kind of runs through a lot of comedians. But I think Tony Hancock was the kind of epitome of that, if you like, or the most extreme.
Well, and again, it's that post-war generation that, most of them would have had to have something to do with the military as well. But it's that post-war generation finding comedy out of the absolute disastrous life, but really hiding the truth that it was really brutal back then.
Yeah, totally.
And actually, during the Second World War, he was in the RAF in a photographic interpretation unit. So I guess the ones taking the pictures of what later would be. So you could say there would be a lot of trauma in that sort of a job, laying down the pictures of what's going to be done later.
Yeah.
Well, it says here he did an interview, or a BBC interview, like an in-depth interview, and with a guy called John Freeman. And it says here he asked Hancock many soul-searching questions about his life and work. Hancock, who deeply admired his interviewer, often appeared uncomfortable with the questions, but answered them frankly and honestly. Hancock had always been highly self-critical and has often argued that this interview heightened this tendency, contributing to his later difficulties.
Yeah, maybe.
And according to his brother, he said it was the biggest mistake he ever made. I think it all started from that interview. Self-analysis, that was his killer. So very insecure. Yeah. So yeah.
Eternal search for perfection in one's what you do.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a bit of a sad one, Tony Hancock.
Yeah, it's a bit. Sorry about that. But then again, a very important figure in British comedy, although, as Fordy says, forgotten now, really.
Yeah, very much
right.
so.
Yeah.
Of his time, of a certain generation, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not just him. I think we've noticed that, ironically, in us choosing comedy to end our show, we realised that all these comedians actually do suffer with sort of a dark inside, and that's what, strangely enough, brings out the great comedy. So it does seem to be a recurring thing with these comedians from that era.
Yeah. Well, they say a lot of great inspiration of art comes from hardship, don't they? Personal struggle. That's where.
And now, luckily for us, Bronze is going to switch that around. He's going to give us all the hardship of his comedy.
Yes.
All the hardship. What does that mean?
Well, I was trying to spin. You were saying I was trying to turn it on its arse. You were saying that they were the opposite way round to that, and I was just trying to take the piss out of you and say that your comedy was shit, I suppose. But my joke wasn't that good, so don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, I have been called a comedian in the past, but that certainly wasn't a compliment.
Well, it's the old Bob Monkhouse joke, isn't it? We know that. We all know that one. Which goes, when I told my friends I wanted to be a comedian, they laughed. Well, they're not laughing now.
Yeah, I do love that ironic joke.
Yeah. Take it
away.
Oh, right. Okay. That was a sort of a roundabout way of getting me to tell some jokes, I presume.
Oh, no. If you got more. Yeah, yes, it was actually. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, if you want some jokes, brace yourself.
That's a good one. I like that.
That's just what she said. Go on.
When one door closes, another one opens. Other than that, it's a pretty good car.
Yep.
A man walks into a casino and asks a security guard which of the machines pay out the most money. He points to the ATM.
Yeah.
Or is that an ATM machine? I forget.
No, it's not an ATM machine.
Thank you, Viv.
Automatic teller machine.
Yes. What did the 0 say to the 8?
Oh,
Don't know.
Your belt's too tight.
yeah.
Bringing it back to our dad jokes roots there. I, for one, like Roman numerals.
Okay.
A small boy was lost, so he went up to a policeman and said, "I've lost my dad." The cop said, "What's he like?" The little boy said, "Beer and women."
Yeah.
A vagabond in 18th century England, exhausted and famished, came to a roadside inn with a sign outside that said George and Dragon. He knocked, and the innkeeper's wife stuck her head out of an upstairs window. "Could you spare a bit of victuals?" he asked. The woman glanced at his shabby appearance. "No," she shouted. "Well, could I have a sip of ale then?" "No," she shouted again. "Well, could I at least sleep in your stable?" "No, go away," she shouted again. The vagabond then said, "Well, might I please—" "What now?" said the woman. "Do you suppose," he asked, "that I might have a word with George?"
Right. Yeah.
Ooh.
Good. Yeah.
Well, I should have had my cricket sound effects going for that one.
No. I like that one. I did like that one. I don't know if it's laugh out loud, but it's a
Obviously
good one, I think. No, but it doesn't mean it's a bad joke.
No, yeah, that is
you.
the point of a dad joke. It's not always something that you laugh out loud to. Yeah.
Yeah, usually groans at dad jokes, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's. I like that one. Sorry, carry on then.
Thank you, Viv. Thank you. What's the difference between a bad marksman and a constipated owl? One shoots but never hits. One shoots but never hits. The other, you can work it out for yourself.
Yeah.
This is a Tommy Cooper joke. I might have told this one previously when we covered Tommy Cooper, but I'm going to do it again. I inherited a painting and a violin, which turned out to be a Rembrandt and a Stradivarius. Unfortunately, Rembrandt made lousy violins, and Stradivarius was a terrible painter.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the difference between a hooker and a lawyer? A hooker stops screwing you when you're dead.
That's shades of a Bill Hicks type joke. That one.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. That's not a particularly original one, I must admit. A group of chemical elements walks into a bar. Someone asks them, "Come here often?" One of them says, "Periodically."
Yep.
4D was told he would never be good at poetry since he's dyslexic. But so far, he's made 3 jugs, a vase, and an ashtray, and they all look really good.
Yeah.
Where does the Dublin Marathon end?
Go on.
At the Guinness line.
Yeah.
Of course.
Did you know that 50% of married people say that they are unhappily married? That's according to a poll I took earlier today at my house.
Yeah. I knew that one was coming, actually.
Yeah. Shout out to the people who are wondering what the opposite of in is.
Out?
Yeah. No, yeah. Shout out.
Shout out. A friend of mine thinks he has all these made-up illnesses. I told him I thought he had hypochondria. He said, "Oh, no, not that as well."
Yeah. Is that how you break someone with hypochondria? You tell them they've got hypochondria.
Yeah, that's right. That's what you do. Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you, but you've got terrible hypochondria.
Yes, you got terminal hypochondria.
Terminal. Yeah. It's terminal, mate. Terminal, mate.
Yeah. I sent my bowel cancer screening kit to the NHS today. If anyone from the Royal Mail is reading this, I apologise for the shit post.
I sent my.
Yeah. Haven't you got one?
I got one of those.
I got one there. Yeah.
I got one last week. I know it's like going to sit there unused.
Yeah, I was going to send a cat shit back to it.
Send cook up some curry and put a bit of curry in it.
Yeah, that'll keep the analysts, the analysts busy, won't it?
Yeah.
What the hell is this? Oh my god, this man's turning into a cat.
Husband and wife in bed. Husband, here, take a paracetamol. Wife, why? I don't have a headache. Husband, just what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A man walks into a bakery. He points at one of the baked goods and asks, "Is this gluten free?" The baker replies, "No, you have to pay for it."
Yep.
Two more. The agony is almost over. Don't worry. If a quiz is quizzical, what is a test?
Oh dear.
And finally, smuggling drugs is like sex. One broken condom and your life is over.
Yep.
And it's a good night for me and a good night for them.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much. Good night, all.
Excellent.
Time for us all to get our coats.
Robrig moonlicht nicht the nicht this morning. There's a bonny wee lassie out there, hoots none the new. Do you mind sitting down there, please, Mr. Hancock? Beg your pardon for lapsing into the vernacular, but the young lady did say you were a Scottish gentleman. Well, not all Rob Roys. Have your card, please. By all means. I'm ready when you are, Squire. Yes. Hold out your hand, please. Now, this won't hurt. You'll just feel a slight prick on the end of your thumb. Well, I'll bid you good day then. Thank you very much. If you want any more, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. Where are you going? Have me tea and biscuits.
Thought you came here to give us some of your blood.
Well, you've just had it.
That's just a smear.
It may be just a smear to you, mate, but it's life and death to some poor wretch.
I've just taken a sample to test.
A sample? How much do you want, then?
Well, a pint, of course.
A pint? Have you gone raving mad? You must be joking.
A pint is a perfectly normal quantity to take.
You don't seriously expect me to believe that? I mean, I came in here in all good faith to help me country. I don't mind giving a reasonable amount, but a pint? That's very nearly an armful. I don't mind that much, but I'm not having it up to here. Sorry, I'm not walking around with an empty arm for anybody. After all, a joke's a joke and all that.